do Stephanie's portion after that?
Sure, I think that would be best.
Okay, great. If Strat, you can, if you can move up to slide 15. And Sally, would you let us know what after that? Yes, that's right. After Stephanie, after Sally and Jackie do their part, then we'll come back to Stephanie. Great. Okay, Sally, could you remind us what the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation is and what your agency does?
Sure. Thank you, Alan. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for spending your lunch hour with us. So the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, or DFPI for short, and formerly known as the Department of Business Oversight, is a consumer protection agency that regulates the financial services industry. We regulate, license, and oversee financial institutions, professionals, and products like state-chartered banks and credit unions, investment advisors, payday lenders, mortgage loan servicers, money transmitters, credit reporting agencies, and many more. A complete list can be found on our website at dfpi.ca.gov. Our role is to examine companies to ensure compliance with state and federal law. We take action against those companies and professionals that are operating illegally and using unlawful, deceptive, or abusive practices. We investigate consumer complaints and pursue legal action when appropriate. And we educate Californians to help you avoid financial harm and to make safe financial decisions. Next slide, please. If a consumer suspects that they've been a victim of financial fraud or scam, or has a question as to the validity of a professional they're thinking about doing business with, please call our call center at 866-275-2677 or visit our website at dfpi.ca.gov for more information or to file a complaint. You can also email us at ask.dfpi@dfpi.ca.gov. And if you would like to have one of our outreach team members speak or participate at our next event, please email us at outreach@dfpi.ca.gov.
Right.
Alan?
Thank you, Sally. Well, what can you tell us now about home improvement financing options?
Next slide, please. So I'd like to start with, one more. Oh, that's fine. You can stay here. So I'm going to start with some basic financing options that you may want to consider so that you can access some of the built up equity you may have in your home. So with soaring home prices, many homeowners may have significant equity in their homes. So one financing option is a traditional mortgage when you take out a loan to purchase the home. But if you own your home outright, you can take out a loan against the house to take out the cash. And that's like a traditional mortgage or a first mortgage. A home equity loan, also known as a second mortgage, enables a homeowner to borrow money by tapping into the equity in their home. The loan is dispersed in one lump sum, and then you pay it back in monthly installments. And one type of home equity loan is a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. It's secured by your home, and it gives you a revolving credit line, similar to a credit card. As you repay the balance, your available credit then is replenished. HELOCs often have a variable interest rate, and the interest rate tends to be lower than what lenders charge for a credit card or a personal loan. In a reverse mortgage, a homeowner who is 62 years old or older and has considerable home equity can borrow against the value of their home and receive funds as a lump sum, fixed monthly payment, or a line of credit. But unlike a forward mortgage, the type used to buy a home, a reverse mortgage doesn't require the homeowner to make any loan payments. A reverse mortgage is the only way to access home equity without selling the home for older adults in situations like, let's say you don't want the responsibility of making a monthly loan payment. Maybe you can't afford a monthly loan payment, or you can't qualify for a home equity loan or refinance because of limited cash flow or poor credit. Now, reverse mortgages might sound great, but it isn't right for everyone. And it's also subject to scams and frauds. Unscrupulous vendors and home improvement contractors have targeted older adults to help them secure reverse mortgages to pay for home improvements. In other words, it's so that they can make bank. But the vendor or contractor may or may not actually deliver on promised quality work, or they might just steal the homeowner's money. Even when a reverse mortgage is issued by a most reputable of lenders, it's still a complicated product. Borrowers should take the time to educate themselves about it to be sure that they're making the best choice about how to use their home equity. They should shop around and not go with the first lender who solicits their business. Rates and fees can vary widely among lenders. The federal government does not set reverse mortgage rates. So the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, requires all prospective reverse mortgage borrowers to complete a HUD-approved counseling session before you can get a reverse mortgage. This is a very complicated product and not right for everyone. Whether you decide to pull out cash from your home for home repairs or improvements, meet monthly expenses because of rising costs, or to create or replenish an emergency fund, or maybe it's just to travel. Please remember that the DFPI regulates the mortgage lenders and mortgage loan servicers. So if you are or have considered refinancing your home to pull out the equity, please, again, call us before you sign any documents. Lastly, know that there are other options of financing for home improvements. And Jackie is going to be up next to talk to you more about the PACE program. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you, Sally. Yes, let me introduce Jackie Wiley next. Jackie is also with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Her specialty is helping older adults make informed financial decisions and recognize the warning signs of frauds and scams. So today, she's going to talk with us about financing alternatives through the PACE program. Thank you for joining us, Jackie.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, Sally, my co-worker, for that great financing option synopsis. And like she said, a lot of people are looking into doing home improvements, which can be expensive. And there are various government financing programs available. And you'll hear about some information also from the CSLB. But one of the government agencies that we're hearing a lot about that people are being solicited for is the PACE program. And there are often times when industries just don't follow the law. But if you don't know what the law is, how are you supposed to know what to do and to follow up so that you don't become a victim? Next slide, please. So are you looking into financing a home improvement? Because again, everyone doesn't have the finances to pay for it right out. Next slide, please. So home improvement financing with the PACE program, as of January 1, 2019, the DFPI began licensing the PACE program administrators and regulates the PACE industry. And that was done through Bill SB 1284. So what actually is a PACE administrator? What does the program do? A PACE solicitor is an organization authorized by a program administrator to solicit a property owner, which would be myself or you, or if you are a homeowner, to enter into a PACE financing agreement for efficiency improvements on the homeowner's property. Typically, a PACE solicitor is a contractor licensed by the Contractor State License Board. A PACE soliciting agent is an individual employed or retained by or acting on behalf of a PACE solicitor to solicit the property owner to enter into a PACE financing agreement for, again, efficiency improvement on the homeowner's property. So typically a PACE soliciting agent is a home improvement salesperson that is registered with the Contractor State License Board. And the law says that the contractor should verify your income, because if I'm on a fixed income and now my property taxes have doubled, how am I going to pay for that? And this is information that we want all to know about, and go to our website so that you can get information on frequently asked questions, the risk and the rewards of doing some home improvements through the PACE program. Next slide, please. So what is PACE? Property Assessed Clean Energy program that provides homeowners help to finance installation of energy efficient and water saving improvements to their property. And the underlying words there are energy efficient and water saving improvements. For example, new windows, solar, low flushing toilets. Maybe I want to get weather stripping doors into my home. And I stress that because we're seeing consumers get coaxed into other improvements which are not part of the PACE program. There has been misrepresentations, people coaxed into other home installations, and some misunderstanding of the financing program altogether. That's why it's very important for you to know what the risks are and the rewards, and also what you should be knowledgeable about. Next slide, please. So what are we seeing? And I love to have this picture up on during my presentations. The cost of the project or repayment of the loan can be and has been misrepresented when being solicited, claiming no money down or no out-of-pocket costs. So of course, when you hear no money down and no out-of-pocket costs, it gives the impression that all the services are free. But we should all know that nothing is free. It sounds too good to be true. So who's going to be paying for it? Somebody has to be paying for it, right? So homeowners need to know that this is not a free government program, that the funding is through their annual property taxes, and that that information has been sometimes omitted and misrepresented. Many have entered into these finance agreements and are now struggling with property taxes because they have doubled or tripled and are at risk of losing their homes. The other thing that I wanted to point out is the fact that contractors come in and they start looking around and they start saying, oh, wow, your kitchen is really nice, but it could use some updating. They'll start offering granite and cabinets, new kitchen counters and things of that sort. These are not applicable to the program. Why? Because I said earlier, the PACE program is pertaining to energy efficient and water saving products. So don't allow a contractor to come in and coax you into getting something other than the products that are affiliated with the PACE program. New granite kitchen counters and cabinets are not part of that. Also, we're seeing a lot of incomplete and unpermitted work. When the pandemic hit, a lot of people were looking for extra income, and a lot of people were thinking about adding ADUs, the additional dwelling units, maybe turning their garages into a single family home or a place where they can rent out. That's a great idea for extra income, but not if this happens. And we're seeing this happen more and more, where the properties have been left incomplete and the work was not even permitted. So again, we need to be mindful of the laws and some of the rules, and to choose and do your homework pertaining to selecting a contractor and the lender who is going to provide the financing for you. Next slide, please. We're also seeing this inappropriate use of the signatures. ID theft and forgery come with that, using an electronic device for your signature. We ask that you ask for a printed copy. With an electronic device, you don't really see the who, the what, and the what is pertaining to the contract. So it's a good idea to ask for a printed copy so that you can see it in its entirety. There has been instances where you sign an electronic pad and the salesperson or the contractor or whomever the scammer has been can sign your name and change information within the documents because you haven't seen it in its entirety. So when it comes back to you, you may not realize that things have been changed from the original contract. And, you know, the law also is stating that you need to have the ability to pay. The contractor should be verifying whether the homeowner has the ability to pay. If I'm going to get brand new windows or solar and it is $20,000, again, mindful that it's going to be attacked to my property taxes, but how do you know that I have the ability to pay, especially if I'm on a fixed income? And we're seeing a lot of that. So please know, if they're not verifying whether you have the ability to pay, as well as other information, you need to contact the DFPI. Because remember, if it sounds too good to be true, and first and foremost, it is a loan, okay? Sally mentioned reverse mortgages taken out for home improvements, or mentioned reverse mortgages, period, to take out money. People are being coaxed, and maybe you didn't have the take out the reverse mortgage to do a home improvement, but they're steering you into doing that to supplement your income. And that's fine and dandy, and that's all good. But again, don't allow someone to steer you into a direction that you didn't have that intention from the beginning. Alan, back to you.
Wow. Thank you, Jackie. The PACE program, that's a lot of info to unpack, and those are valuable tips. So how do we verify the contractors and lenders, and what do we do if we've been scammed?
So, you know, my motto is always do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. Verify your information. Next slide, please. Protect yourself by doing your homework. Before signing the contract, or any contract for that matter, be sure you check the license of both the contractor and the lender. DFPI is the agency that you would come to verify that the lender is participating in the manner that they should be. The Contractor State License Board is the agency that you would go to verify that the contractor is on the up and up. And sometimes, you know, we'll verify information and it'll all seem good. But when you get a feeling, and the gut feeling, sometimes we just have to go with the gut feeling. Ask your neighbors, ask for references. But the main thing is to come to these agencies to verify whether there's been any disciplinary actions taken. And most importantly, for information, again, on the risks and the laws associated with the PACE program, please go to the DFPI websites /PACE. Alan?
Thank you, Jackie. That's really valuable stuff. Our next speaker is going to be Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez, and she is the outreach coordinator for the California Contractors State License Board. As I mentioned, she's heavily involved in raising awareness about construction scams that are targeting seniors. And I'd love to hear from Stephanie to start us off with, what is CSLB? Stephanie?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for having me today, Alan. A little bit about the Contractor State License Board. We're a California Consumer Protection Agency, and we fall under the umbrella of the Department of Consumer Affairs. We license and regulate nearly 285,000 contractors in the state of California in 44 license classifications that constitute the construction industry. And you want to think of a license classification, something along the lines of a construction specialty. So something like roofing, plumbing, and landscaping. Furthermore, we also investigate consumer complaints against our licensed contractors, and we also address unlicensed activity in the state of California. Next slide, please. So I'm here today to talk about some common home improvement scams. And granted, there are a wide array of construction scams, but I'm going to talk to you about the most common ones. So first and foremost, we have the door-to-door solicitors. So an alleged scammer may offer to do roofing, painting, or any general home upkeep with any leftover material at a reduced or significantly discounted price. So these are the individuals who go around knocking door to door on your neighborhood and try to pitch a good sale and are playing on people's instinctive emotion to want to make their home look good, or, maybe there is some project that they have in mind. Secondly, are the high pressure sales. So an alleged scammer may push for an immediate decision about work that they say must be done, and it is impossible for the individual to get at least 3 bids because they want an immediate response. Also, we have scare tactics. So an alleged contractor or an alleged scammer may offer to perform a free inspection around the home, but once inside your home, they'll raise red flags and say that there's a serious problem in the home, such as faulty wiring, bad plumbing, or a leaky roof, which may put the homeowner in danger. So this can lead to unnecessary and overpriced work. Next slide, please. Verbal agreements. So this is a common one. So an alleged scammer or contractor may go around and say that a contract does not need to be signed or dated. But this is crucial because if there's no written proof, there's nothing that the CSLB or anyone can go off of. So it's very important that if someone says that there's a verbal agreement or does not need to be in writing, that should raise some red flags. Another one is demand for cash, oftentimes going as far as offering to drive seniors to the bank to pick up gift cards or get cash to pay them. And oftentimes when the seniors or individuals pay them with cash up front, they do not come back and perform the job or drop off the materials that they promised. Finally, illegally large down payments are also a common scam. And considering the fact that in some instances, they don't say it's a down payment and often will say that the individual needs money to pay for materials, that should raise a red flag, because as the homeowner, you are not paying for the materials, rather you are paying for the finished work. Next slide, please. So how can anyone, in particular seniors, avoid common construction scams? So first, do not answer your door to strangers selling their services. This is going to be the best way to protect yourself from interacting with a professional salesperson that knows how to pitch and play to your emotions to get you to hand over money for an unnecessary project. Secondly, just say no and keep saying no. So here at CSLB, we often stress to seniors and individuals that no is a complete sentence. Do not feel like you have to elaborate or give a justification for why a contract or a work that they're quoting you is good for you. Just say no and move on. Also, do not make any cash payments. As soon as the contractor or the alleged scammer has cash in their hands, there's very little chance that they are going to come back and perform the work that they promised. So what we recommend is to protect yourself, either consider paying in a cashier's check, or a debit card, because there's more protection, because not only do you have a paper trail, but you can work with your bank to cancel that payment if they do not come back and perform the promised work. Next slide, please. So get everything in writing. As I mentioned, verbal agreements are not binding. You want to make sure that everything is in writing and that the contractor adheres to the written contract. In addition, you want to make sure that you get any changes in writing to the project. And oftentimes we find that in some instances, there may be some issues that the contractor didn't initially catch in their initial inspection. And you want to make sure that you get it in writing. And you also want to make sure that in written proof in the contract, it also outlines who's pulling the permits and what materials and supplies are going to be delivered, as well as the payment schedule. Make sure to pay no more than 10% or $1,000 for the contract price, whichever is less, and this is down payments. Finally, you always want to make sure you check the contractor license and make sure that they are active and in good standing. And you can do so by going on the Contractor State License Board website or giving us a phone call. Next slide, please. So what can you do if you've been scammed? First of all, you want to make sure that you contact the Contractor State License Board. And oftentimes we hear that seniors are embarrassed to admit that they've been scammed, and because it puts them in a vulnerable position to admit so. But to protect yourself and to protect others from being scammed in the future, please give us a call, either by calling 1-800-321-CSLB. You can visit our website at cslb.ca.gov and file a complaint on our homepage, or you can email cslbinfo@cslb.ca.gov. Next slide, please. Also, the best way that seniors and individuals can protect themselves from construction scams is hiring the right contractor. So here are a couple of recommended tips for hiring the right contractor for you and your project. Beforehand, you want to make sure you get a clear idea of the work you want and the finished project beforehand. We all know that it's easy for us to go to the store without having a grocery list and buying more than what we need. The same goes for any home improvement projects. There's more chances that if you don't know what you want beforehand, a contractor or salesperson may influence you to pay for extra work that you may not need. Also, get at least 3 construction bids. What you want to do is you want to make sure and verify that the construction bids fall along the same price range. So for example, if a project is quoted at $5,000 by 2 contractors and the third one is quoting you $10,000, right off the bat, you know that they're overcharging you because you've gotten at least 2 additional construction bids. But alternatively, if you get quoted $5,000 by 2 contractors and another individual is quoting you $2,500, that should raise some red flags, because although it may appear that you are saving money, oftentimes by paying less than what other contractors charge you, you may be paying for substandard work, or that they are not going to come back and give you the finished product. Also, make sure you request references and examples of past work from your contractor. You want to make sure you ask to see the contractor's pocket license and a current photo ID. And all licensed contractors should have a Contractor State License Board issued pocket license. And you want to verify that, 1, the photo ID and the name on the pocket license match. You want to verify that what classification they are, because not all classifications can work on all projects. So you want to verify that the classification that they're licensed to is able to work on your project. Finally, verify the expiration date and make sure that they are actually still an active licensee. You want to ask for proof of their liability and workers' compensation insurance. And this is important because if you as the homeowner hire a contractor who doesn't have workers' compensation insurance, and a worker of theirs, an employee, gets hurt on your property, they are going to come after your homeowner, home insurance, or after the homeowner to pay any issues. Also, you want to make sure you get a detailed written contract before you make a down payment and before work begins. Make sure you understand what you're signing and ask questions if you're unsure of what it is that you're signing or if something seems off. And don't let payments get ahead of the work. Don't pay for work that has not been completed to your satisfaction. So if you have any issues with your licensed contractor getting the work done that they promised you, please contact the Contractor State License Board, and we have a mediation team that can reach out and talk to the licensed contractor on your behalf. Next slide, please. Ask for contact information, such as telephone numbers and business addresses for the contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers. And you want to make sure you save this in your contract and all your documents in case that there's any issues, you know who you can call. Pay no more than 10% of the total contract price or $1,000 as a down payment, whichever is less, and avoid paying in cash. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest scams that we see is illegally large down payments. So right off the bat, if you are being quoted to pay more than 10% or $1,000, whether it be for additional materials or to pay labor costs, that should raise some red flags. Keep all your project documents, including payments and photographs, in a job file. And this is important. Either you want to make sure that you have access to it or give it to a trusted friend or family member to hold on to your behalf, because seniors have 4 years from the date of construction to file a complaint. And this is important because if you have your past documents and everything, this is easier for CSLB to research and advocate on your behalf for any issues. And remember this, for anyone ages 65 years of age or older, per California law, you have a 5 business day right to cancel any contract. To protect yourself, you want to make sure that you do not make any additional payments during this time, or do not let any work begin. For anyone 64 years of age or younger, it is going to be 3 business days. Next slide, please. So we've been hearing a lot of talk about solar, and solar is a big thing right now, granted, but also remember, maybe while solar is right for some individuals, it may not be right for you. So you want to make sure you do your research and consider the following. Consider the length of time that you are going to be in your home. It takes time to recoup cost savings associated with solar. And if you're planning to be out of your home or selling it in the next 5 years, maybe the solar isn't right for you. Also consider the roof direction, because some roofs are ideally positioned for solar, whereas others aren't. And you also want to consider whether that there is any obstructions, such as tall buildings or trees blocking your roof, because these are going to cause issues with maximizing the potential of solar. Most importantly, do the math with solar and look at your monthly statements. You want to do your research and see whether there's going to be any cost savings associated with solar. So look at various tools and resources online, such as solar cost saving calculators or any additional resources. You can see some resources on our CSLB website on our Solar Smart webpage. Next slide, please. And as Jackie and Sally mentioned, solar is not free, and you want to be aware of any of the following financing programs, such as PACE, Chief, or Go Green Home, because 1, they come with high interest rates, and they're tied to your property taxes, which can cause quite a surprise for individuals living on a fixed income when their property tax bill is a lot larger than anticipated. Next slide, please. So how can you protect yourself from solar fraud? First, check and verify the license first. So you want to verify that they are either an A, B, C4, C10, C36, C46, or C53. And what these all mean is, in a nutshell, these are the classifications that can work on solar and associated with any solar projects. So if you have any issues, go on our website and go on our Solar Smart page, and it'll give you a breakdown of what each of these classifications are able to work with solar related. Also, review the Solar Energy System Disclosure document. And if you're purchasing solar, you should be given this document beforehand. Shop and compare. Make sure that you are getting the best price for you for solar. And this goes back to our recommendation of getting at least 3 bids. Get everything in writing and make sure the contract specifies that the contractor will pull all required permits. Also, make sure you understand the contract terms. You want to verify that it's in your language. If you're not a native English speaker, that the contract is in, whether it be Spanish, Tagalog, or Hmong. Also, don't rush. Remember, solar is a big market, and there are plenty of solar contractors out there. Don't feel like you have to be rushed into going with the first contractor you see. Always do your research and take your time. Next slide, please. Always check a license and hire contractors for jobs worth $500 or more for labor and material. And this is important. You want to be wary of anyone who goes around door to door saying that they're a handyman or non-licensed contractor, because per California law, if you're working on a project $500 or more in labor and material, you must be licensed. So to verify that you're interacting and hiring a licensed contractor, you can go on our website and check the license. And on our license check portion, you can also see if there's any disciplinary actions or any complaints on that contractor, or if there's any issues. And you can also use it to verify that they are active workers' compensation insurance, liability insurance, and bonded. And if you're not sure to begin, there's plenty of contractors. And if you want to start your research, I highly recommend going on the Contractor State License Board and click Find My Licensed Contractor. You put in your zip code and the license classification that you're looking for, you'll be given a list of licensed contractors in your area. Thank you again, Alan. I appreciated being a part of this, and I'll be around to answer any questions shortly. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Stephanie. That's a world of information. And folks, if you have a question for Stephanie, you can enter it into the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and she'll answer your question a little bit later. So, Strat, if you'll put up our resources slide next. There we go. You can check out the next one, please. You can check out our resources and links on the web. You don't have to write all this down. You'll receive these in the thank you email that will be sent to the email address that you registered with. So don't need to write them all down, but there's some really good resources there. Now let's take some questions from our audience. As I mentioned, you can either type your question into the Q&A using the icon at the bottom of your Zoom window, or you can use the raise hand icon that's also in the bottom of your Zoom window. When you ask your question, please do make it brief, and remember that we are live streaming, so don't reveal any personal information. So let's begin with a question that's already in the Q&A. And this was asked by two folks, Pramila and someone else. Is this information that we've been hearing just for Californians? And Sally, could you clarify that for us?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, again, for joining us today. And that's a great question. So while Stephanie, Jackie, and I are from California state agencies, the information that we've all provided is useful for anyone living in the United States. Just please look up a similar agency in your state. Again, to verify contractor's license status, there will be a similar state agency that can assist you. And then again, another similar agency like California DFPI in your state to verify the lender or the mortgage loan servicers, or more information about programs similar to PACE. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Sally. Another question was posed by Sharon Martin. Sharon, would you unmute your audio and ask your question for us?
I wanted to know if the property tax attachment for the PACE was for a single year, or was it spread out over several years? I mean, I would think that would be a major blow to one's economics.
I can take that, Alan. Thank you,
Great.
Sharon. That's a great question. The money borrowed and the associated costs are, again, we know are added to your property taxes for the term of the PACE contract. So you want to ask questions. How long is the contract? Is it 20 years? Is it 10 years? Is that cost over the life of the PACE assessment, which it will be? And then most importantly, how much will my property taxes increase once this loan for the PACE financing program is attached? But it is for the term of the PACE contract that you're signing.
Thanks, Jackie. Let me remind everybody that we're answering questions, and if you can either put your question into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, or in the More item at the bottom of the screen, hold up your, do the raise hand. So next question comes from a Zoom user who asks, my contractor who is doing landscaping has no workers' comp, as his license said he has no employee, but he comes with helpers. Should I ask if he has employees? And Stephanie, can you answer that one?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for the question. So first of all, what you want to do is you want to go back and verify what it says on the contract. So the contract should specify if they're going to have any employees or subcontractors working on that project. And also, if they're saying that they do not have employees, what we're seeing is individuals hiring day laborers, or they're not necessarily employees, but just, as you mentioned, helpers. So that should raise some red flags, because if they do not have workers' compensation insurance, and again, that individual gets hurt working on your property, you as the homeowner are going to be liable for any issues that may come up because of that. So to protect yourself, you want to consider whether this landscaper is the right person for you. So do research and ask yourself this question, whether it's a deal breaker, so to speak, for you. But again, you as the consumer have the power to make that decision and what's most beneficial for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have another question from Bernice Schneiderman. Could you go ahead and ask your question, please, Bernice?
Yes, my name is Bernice Schneiderman, and I live in Studio City, California. The noise from the airplanes at the airport is just terrible. It wakes me up in the morning, and can't talk to someone outside because it's overhead, can't swim in the pool without. It's just terrible. Less than every few minutes, not even every 5 minutes. But anyway, I was just considering putting in perhaps double paned windows. Somebody said that might help, or earplugs. but I'm not sure how would I go about getting a discount. I would pay. I have the money to pay. I would pay for the windows. Do I apply to, I thought LADWP has a program, or you're talking now about a PACE program, or how would I apply for any? And then I read someplace 2023, they start for the, the energy saving. That would be, I guess, solar energy from the windows. I'm just questioning, what do I do? I hire somebody to do it. What do I do to get discounts?
Hey, Stephanie, could you respond to Bernice on that one?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to defer this over to Jackie or Sally, because we don't specialize in any discounts associated with those programs. Jackie, Sally, any thoughts?
Yeah, the DWP does have programs that they do offer with discounts. I would, again, do my homework, Bernice. You can get information from LADWP. You can come to our website and look for the PACE administrators. You can look for the agents, and then see what kind of discount you can get that way. But as the state regulatory agency, we don't offer discounts, but I would do my homework by contacting LADWP, and then going on our website to gain information first.
And your website is the DFPI?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great, thank-
dfpa.ca.gov/PACE, PACE.
So thank you, Jackie, for the answer, and Bernice for the question. Next up is Lena R. Would you unmute and ask your question, please?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go
Yes.
ahead.
My name is Lena, and I am from the wonderful Bay Area, California area. And my question is, are there any special tips for a home that is in my town's architectural heritage district? Yeah.
I would have to ask tips pertaining to what?
Renovation, where my daughter and I are looking into, financing and hiring contractors or researching them first, of course, to renovate. Are there special tips or rules or things? We've done a little bit of research. Well, my daughter has mostly. So that's that.
Okay, that's you, Stephanie, contracting.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. So first of all, as I mentioned, you want to have an understanding of what work you want to do and get done, and have an idea if you have a licensed contractor in mind, or if you don't, you can check our Find My Licensed Contractor tool on the Contractor State License Board website. Type in your zip code, the contractor that you're looking for. In this instance, if it's like a larger remodel, you may use a License B contractor, which is a general contractor.
Okay.
And sometimes you can ask these contractors they oftentimes have a portfolio of past works that they can show you. And some individuals find it helpful to see, what past works or large remodels that they have done. And it gives them an idea of what they want for their home, just as a starting point. And of course, get at least 3 bids, maybe more, but at minimum 3 before paying any down payment or signing a contract with your contractor.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's a question. What should I do if I didn't understand that the financing is attached to my property taxes?
Contact the DFPI. Absolutely. Contact us so that we can get more information, of course, looking into the contract, but contact us so that we can try to help you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Strat. Are there others who are waiting to ask a question? Here's another that just came in through the Q&A. What happens to any remaining PACE loan payments following a subsequent sale of your house or disposal of your estate following your death?
Because it's attached to your property taxes, there's going to be a lien placed on your home. It's going to have to be paid off. Yeah, it follows everything. It's going to have to get paid off.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you, Jackie. And we have a question from Sonia. Sonia, would you unmute and ask your question, please? Okay, Sonia hasn't come on the line, so I'll ask the question for her. Oh, Sonia, go ahead.
Yes, I want to have 2 contractors come to the house, and online on the website, they are showing that they give you free estimates for outdoor shadings. And they're telling me to go ahead and fill out all the information online, but then I'd rather have them come and see what I really want. And if I have them come to the house and give me an estimate, is there like a time limit for me to make a decision about, sometimes I like to see how they talk to you. They're not pressuring you, if they actually listening to what I need. Is it better to get it in person, the estimate, or online? Because I don't feel comfortable putting all that information online. And how can they give me an estimate if they haven't seen the property? Thank you.
You're right. So, how can they give you an estimate without them seeing what it is that you want, the spacing and all of that? So you are right on the money to have them come. And Stephanie can probably chime in as well. You're not obligated to move forward because you're getting an estimate. So like she said, you want to get 3 bids. You want to get estimates from other contractors, not just that one, but you just know you're not obligated to move forward because you got an estimate from one particular company. Stephanie?
Okay.
Correct. Yes. And of course, always verify that they're an active licensee before moving forward, even with getting a bid or a quote from them. You don't want them to come into your home and look around and give you information if it turns out that they're not a licensed contractor. And also, you want to make sure that you do your research and don't give any money until you sign that contract and need to give a down payment. And even then, don't let work begin until you've had your 3 to 5 business days, depending on your age, to consider if this contract is right. So you're able to cancel that contract and get your money back without any financial penalties because of that.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, you're on mute. Kenny.
Thank you, Sally. We have a question from Lee asking about green living. Lee, can you unmute and ask us your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I was helping an older friend of mine, and she has dementia. And there was a situation where a couple people came to her door and wanted her to do some construction on her house. She has a large 2-story house, an older home, and they got her to sign a contract. This is a pretty large contract. This was probably about $11,000 contract, and they wanted her to put like $1,000 down. She signed a check for them, and I found out about it, and I canceled it within 3 days. And then about a month later, they came back and wanted her to sign another contract, this time for $18,000. And they wanted a $5,000 down payment, which she paid. And I canceled that as well. And then I came over to her house another time, and I saw somebody working on her home, and I'm going, what is happening here? We canceled the contract, and it was a subcontractor that came over, and the subcontractor was not even aware of what happened. I went up and told him that we canceled. What are you doing here? And so the thing is all this stuff, they were forcing it on her. And I looked at the contract and everything, and she signed this stuff really not knowing what she was doing, because she has dementia also. So they were taking advantage of her. And I even told them that, and I called them back and I said, we canceled, and they still sent the subcontractor back. And she still has not got her money back from the $5,000 that she paid them. And I just wanted to know, are you familiar with Green Living? Because they are not good people at all. If anybody has heard about them at all, do not do any business with this company at all.
Okay, Lee, thank you so much for that question. And it's great to hear that, your neighbor has someone like you helping her. But this is beyond the proper information we can provide for you. While I'm not familiar with Green Living per se, what I would suggest is reporting this case, your neighbor's help to APS. Okay, she needs help. in her situation, and whether it is, getting family members involved so that this does not happen continuously, right? And you can report it anonymously. But yes, I think your friend neighbor is going to need additional help, because you can't do this every week, right?
She's an older lady as well. She's like in her 80s. She had another huge problem too, where she put solar panels on her roof, and evidently, you have to pay so much per month on the solar panels, and evidently, she had a situation where the payment stopped because there was another situation going on there, and she didn't even realize that all of a sudden the solar company disconnected the solar panels, and she didn't even realize that until we got a bill from SDG&E saying that she owed about $5,000 or $6,000. And I said, how come the bill is so high? And they said because her solar got disconnected from the system.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
And she was on one of these. She was on one of these yearly plans, so we didn't know till a year later what was going on.
Yeah, as Sally said, somebody needs to contact Adult Protective Services to help this lady, because if she's not able to make those decisions on her own, she really does need some help. So thank you all for your questions. We're running a little bit late, and let's go ahead and do our wrap-up polls. So Strat, can you bring up our poll question, please? Okay, how helpful was the information shared today? Pretty easy question. Just a few more seconds. Okay, then Strat, would you please show us the poll results? Wow. Good result. 93% think it was very helpful, and another 7 for somewhat. That's great. Well, thank you all for joining us today. This has certainly been an information-packed conversation. I'd like to thank our wonderful panelists for sharing their time and advice today. Stephanie Gutierrez-Valdez from the Contractor State License Board, and Sally Westlake and Jackie Wiley with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And special thanks to Strat Maloma for managing the slides, and to Marissa Guzzardo for doing all that behind the scenes work. And I want to thank all of you in the audience for joining our conversation and for your wonderful comments and questions. I hope you found this Scam Chat Wednesday informative and helpful. Watch for an email from AARP with some helpful links. But meanwhile, if you have any questions about fraud, you can contact the AARP Fraud Watch Network at 877-908-3360, or visit us online at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. So thank you and goodbye.